I brought both the S24 Ultra and Z Fold 6 on my trip to Belgium with my friends and took over 1,000 pictures and videos. If you're not familiar with the Fold series, you may think that because they're more expensive, the camera should be better, but that's not the case and the Ultra still rules. There are some exceptions though. I will show you many samples and give you some tips and tricks to get the most out of the cameras. Let's start by portrait photography, and this time Nada volunteered to help us. For the first part, I'm going to use the portrait mode, even though I'm not a big fan of it, especially if your subject has nice curly hair. The portrait mode chops the hair a bit and looks slightly unnatural. Portrait mode gives an artificial bokeh to the scene, which, if you are not familiar with it, basically refers to a shallow depth, which you can usually achieve by using a lens with a small aperture like 1.8. The main lens of the S24 Ultra is 1.7, 200 megapixel, and the main lens of the Z Fold 6 is 1.8, 50 megapixel. But since the sensor size is small, it does not create a depth as a full-frame camera with the same aperture does. The quality of images in daylight is slightly better on the S24 Ultra, but not crazy better, at least on the main and the ultra-wide lens. My personal preference is to take photos without the portrait mode and just with the normal mode, and later add it via software if I have to. As an example, I took this photo with my Sony camera, and there is a great 3D pop of the subject, even though there is not much bokeh going on. I tried to reproduce it with the phone camera and the result is surprisingly good. There is always a mist on Samsung cameras. I feel it's because it's trying to lift the shadows a bit to make the picture brighter. Here I used the 3x zoom and the result on both cameras is absolutely gorgeous. I personally prefer a 3x zoom lens for portrait since it resembles the traditional 50mm lens on a full frame body. You can also use a main camera on portrait mode if your subject is a bit far, like we did here, and the result is still acceptable. Both cameras did a great job detecting the subject. When we go to indoor videography and photography, the difference shows more because the Ultra sensor is a bit larger, or at least I think it is larger. I'm not 100% sure because I could not find any information online about the sensor size of both phones. Nada looks much better on the Ultra, the skin tone is more natural, and the Z Fold white balance is a bit off. And it gives Nada a more yellowish tone of her skin. Neither of them is particularly oversaturated like most people believe. This is, for example, a shot that I took with a Sony camera with a 40mm f4. If you look at the same shot with the S24 Ultra and Z Fold 6, they are a bit brighter again because how shadows and highlights are being handled. But also, one nice thing about photos taken by mobile cameras is the HDR effect, which highlights the whole scene. Both cameras have the same functionalities and Samsung did not cripple either of them. For example, they can both take 8K video or 4K 60 frames per second, which you can use for slow motion. Another cool feature on almost all flagship phones is the cinematic portrait mode, which on Samsung phone is called portrait video. It blurs the background and it actually does a better job than when it tries to blur the background in pictures, and I absolutely love it. Again, I don't see a big difference between these two, at least when there is enough lights in the scene. In general, when you want to purchase a camera, you don't only think of the picture quality, but also usability and how you can take pictures. The Fold has an upper hand here. You can use it folded to take pictures like you do with the Ultra, or like Tanya here, you can open the Fold and have much more real estate to take pictures and preview your picture. I find this mode extremely useful, especially when you're outdoors and want to see your subject better. You can also take photos in this mode, of course. Maybe it's not super useful for horizontal video and photos, but it's definitely useful for vertical ones, like the ones you upload on Instagram stories or YouTube shorts. When we were taking pictures here, I noticed Nada is not always detected properly on the Z Fold 6 compared to the S24 Ultra, and the autofocus on the S24 Ultra did a better job. This happened a few other times during our trip too. Another advantage of the Z Fold 6 is that you can use the cover screen to see yourself when taking videos or pictures. This is extremely useful because the selfie camera quality is poor on any phone, and this way you can use the main camera as a selfie camera when vlogging or having a meeting. Another advantage of this form factor is that when you are taking pictures, you can see a preview of what you've done right away on the left side without interrupting your shooting experience. Overall, taking pictures with the Fold is a delightful experience. We also took a lot of pictures of architecture in Bruges and Ghent in Belgium. Both of them are gorgeous and picturesque cities, and we're super lucky that the weather was sunny most of the time, so we could capture it nicely. On the ultra-wide lens, both phones took very similar pictures, and it is difficult to say which one took which photo. The colors and white balance are also very similar. From my experience, as long as you stay with a 3x zoom, the difference between the two is very minimal. Yes, if you start to pixel peep, You will notice the S24 Ultra is doing a better job, but frankly, on a small phone screen, it's really hard to differentiate between the two, and they are more or less the same. But there is where I find the telephoto lens on the S24 Ultra really useful. The Z Fold 6 only has a 3x zoom telephoto lens and not a 5x one, which is a bit of a miss in my opinion, especially if you are taking photos in a city. For taking videos with 5x zoom, the result on the S24 Ultra is much better compared to the digital crop on the Z Fold 6. The camera takes sharp images and videos with lots of details on the Ultra, whereas the quality on the Z Fold 6 is lacking. This is to be expected since, as I mentioned, the Z Fold uses digital zoom, whereas the Ultra uses optical zoom, and the difference is definitely noticeable even on a smaller screen. So I would avoid zooming more than 3x into the scene using the Fold, similar to S24 base and S24 Plus models. That said, one thing I found super useful on the Z Fold 6 compared to the Ultra is the inner screen. Usually, I wait until I come back from vacation to have a larger screen at home to edit the pictures. For example, Nada has a scar from the bike accident, and I used Adobe Lightroom to remove it on the larger screen, something that is more difficult to do on the S24 Ultra screen. By the way, she probably will be pissed off at me that I did not fix other photos in this video, but until she sees the video, it is too late, and I'm willing to risk our friendship for content and my audience. That's just who I am as a person, so please don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you like it so far. Also, the Z Fold 6 already has the latest 6.1.1 version, which has some cool AI stuff. For example, as you probably have seen in a million other videos, you can sketch something simple and it will add it to the picture using AI. A bunch of other people say it is a gimmick, but honestly, I've been using generative AI features for a long time in Photoshop and I love it, especially for creating YouTube thumbnails, and it's not a gimmick, at least for me personally. Also, you can impress your friends with it.
What?
This is the reaction.
Wait, is that AI?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Did you see how he drew a cat?
No.
He literally drew like this, and ears and a nose.
That's crazy.
Thanks for the content. hold on, draw another one. By the way, right after I came back from vacation, I received my package from PITAKA for their new cases for S24 Ultra and Z Fold 6. It's not a sponsored section, I just love their cases and I asked them to send me for their new lineup. I'm already using the Sunset one for the Ultra and now I'm changing it to Moonrise. It's extremely light and made out of carbon, and I also love the texture. For the Z Fold, I went for the black one. The Z Fold is already heavy and a bit bulky. Initially, I was using the Samsung official case, but gradually it started to fall apart, so I'm just now going to replace it with this one. I will put the links in the description down below. I absolutely recommend them if you want a minimalistic case. For the next part, I decided to compare the colors on both phones and see if there's a difference. Both of them are using the same Snapdragon 8 Generation 3 chipset and the same software, but the lenses are different, so the colors should differ slightly. On the main lens and ultra wide, the colors are similar, but when you zoom in, the Fold is a bit washed out. When it comes to taking pictures, they are both almost identical. The difference is negligible and could be caused by different angles in the shots. Only in the last picture did I feel the Ultra has a bit of a warmer tone, while the Fold has a bit of a colder one. So far it seems like Ultra is either surpassing the Fold or at least matching it, but I found one area where the Ultra historically struggles, and the Fold performs better, and that's photography of moving subject. For videos, there is not much of a difference between the two. The colors are similar as in the subject tracking. However, when it comes to photos, the ones taken by the Ultra in my opinion are blurrier. I am not quite sure what is causing this issue, and the problem exists across multiple generations of Ultra phones. Maybe it is because of processing and the larger 200 megapixel sensor, but I can't say for certain. In general, the pictures I capture with the Fold are better in this kind of situation. So if you have a pet or a kid, the Fold is probably slightly better for you. I also tested both phones for vlogging and just walking in the streets to take pictures. For vlogging, in my opinion, two things matter the most. One is the stabilization. Phones are much better than the cameras in this regard since their sensors are smaller, making it easier to stabilize the image. For example, this video looks like it was taken on a gimbal, and it would be impossible to take it with a camera without it being shaky. By the way, one fun fact, did you know French fries are Belgian? American soldiers called them French fries because they were on the south of Belgium where people speak French. So here in Belgium, don't order French fries, just order fries. They won't like it otherwise. The second most important thing for vlogging is the zoom, because because there are subjects that you just want to zoom in on without them noticing you. Here again, the Ultra completely overtakes the Fold. It is not that the Fold is weak, it is just that the Ultra is excelling with the 5x zoom lens, which is too good for its own sake. It is so good that I stopped bringing telephoto lenses on my trips and just use the Ultra when I want to snap something real quick. If you, for example, stumble upon a concert or an artist singing in the street and you are far away, it is nicer to have an Ultra on hand. You can take videos and pictures that are actually useful. Even if you zoom in, let's say 10 times, the Ultra can zoom up to 20 times on 4K, while the Fold can zoom on the subject only 12 times. Maybe this picture says it all. I took it with 30 times zoom, and the difference is very noticeable between the two. Let's also quickly check the sound quality of them with Tanya singing and Joy playing guitar.
Grab your coat and grab your hat. Leave your worries on the doorstep. Just direct your feet to the sunny side of the street. Can't you hear the pitter-pat?
In the evening, we went to a natural park to take more videos and pictures. To me, it looks like the quality of the images on the Ultra's main lens is better. It is a bit more oversaturated, but in general, it is more pleasant to the eye. There is more 3D pop on the subject, meaning you can see the separation between the subject and the background better, while the Fold is a bit overexposed for my taste. But all in, it is not overly worse than the Ultra, and sometimes it's hard to differentiate between the two. When it comes to zooming, again, the Ultra is absolutely insane, especially if you want to take pictures of birds. Here, I didn't even bother to use the Fold since I knew the Ultra would do a much better job. If I wanted to take such a photo or video using my camera, I would have to bring a lens that weighs at least 1 kilogram, which is 2.2 pounds, and I just don't want to carry that on a trip. For the last part, I took some pictures on the airplane, and I'm introducing a new section in this video called aerial photography. The zoom level on both of them is quite nice and usable if you want to snap something real quick and post it on social media. The Fold again is not going to do as good of a job as Ultra, but we've already discussed that multiple times in this video, so there is no need to repeat it. Sometimes I feel this level of zoom should be illegal on a smartphone. It is absolutely insane how far we've come with the smartphones and their zoom capabilities. I hope Samsung bring back the 10x zoom or even introduce a 15x zoom, because why not? You may ask if the iPhone 15 Pro Max can do a better job than either of these two. I would say that's not always the case. You can watch a comparison of iPhone 15 Pro Max versus the S24 Ultra camera next to decide for yourself. Thanks for tuning into Tecmo, and I will see you in the next one.